Okay, good evening. Back again from Programmers Life. In this episode, we continue from where we had paused from. We had talked about running, so in this session, let's try to have details about testing. Now, we have the program. Okay, we've gone through, we've done all the hassle, and we've written, I don't know, millions or thousands or hundreds or a few lines of code, and we need to test. Without forgetting, if we think about the programming as a business concept, then it means you are working for a certain client, and this client gave you this project. So in giving you the project in form of a problem, so you manage to find out the solution, you manage to sit, I don't know for how long, based on how you managed yourself. You wrote all these lines of code, and in the end you have the application, we assume. Okay, so there is a moment and you need to do what we call testing. Okay, now testing is the process of executing a program with the aim of finding errors. With the aim of finding errors. Okay, earlier we talked about the different types of errors. I left out two of them in the previous screen, and I asked guys to look out for the details. If I told you it did, then that is really so good of you. So with the aim of finding errors. Okay, now for any application, for any software, for any program to perform, it should be error free. Okay, the program should be error free. So if testing is done successfully, then the whole application will be free from errors. Now, whenever we are to perform testing, the following principles have to be put in place. So in the next bit we shall try to look at principles of testing. Yes, you want to do the testing. Yes, you want to make the application error free. Yes, you want to confirm or prove the application is working as expected. So what are the guidelines of doing the testing? 1, all the tests to be conducted should be planned before implementation. So plan the testing before it's actually done. Okay, don't just jump from the blue and begin testing. Plan. Like earlier I told you, in the actual run, what do you use? You use already verified data and results. That already confirms to you that you have had a plan of testing before you actually did the testing. So one of the principles is that plan the testing before it's actually done. 2, all the tests should meet up the customer requirements. Okay, in the beginning of this session I said assume you are working for a client. Assume it's a business project. At the end of the day, however long it may take, you are to deliver this application. So your tests, are they meeting up the customer requirements? 3, you need to have optimal amount of testing. You need to have optimal amount of testing. What does it mean? It means you can never be exhaustive. You can never be exhaustive. Okay, you can never be exhaustive, but you need to have an optimal testing. So that will reduce the level of risks in the application. So that is in terms of risk assessment. Okay, so you can look out for more principles of testing, but those are some of them. So below, in your free moment or as you're watching this episode, you can pause a bit, then find out more details about the principles of testing. Okay, we have the principles, we are well versed with what has to happen. Then what could be those types of testing? What could be the different types of testing? Among them we have unit testing. Okay, sounds good. We shall know the details as we move along. Then we have integration testing. We have integration testing. Then we have what we call regression testing. Something that you need to know along the way. The best weapon of every programmer is the brain. Your brain has to be able to keep as much as possible. Your brain has to be informed as much as possible. So for those that I've taught before, that is people at Multitech Business School, people at Makerere Institute for Social Development, I've already confirmed. I always share the same ideologies when it comes to programming. I tell them the best way to become a programmer is to equip your mind, because your mind is your toolbox. And right now, from the past episode that we had, or from the past episodes that we had, right to this current episode here, all that I'm trying to talk about is from the head. Okay, so it shows how much you have to be equipped. Okay, and trust me, we are going to have a long journey and so much I'm going to unleash from the head. So that is why I told you I really have quite a lot to share, quite a number of languages that I've interacted with in my 10 years of programming. So more yet to come. The head has a lot. The head can give you a lot, and yeah, please try to enjoy and try to utilize the moment. Check me out on my details like I have told you earlier. So we have unit, we have integration, we have regression testing, then we have smoke testing. So these guys who do the smoking so we have that kind of testing in our world of programming. Then we have alpha testing. Then we have beta testing. I'm trying to recall, of course I might not exhaust all of them, but I will be able to give you quite a number. I guess we have also system testing. So these are quite a number of testing types that can be done depending on which kind of application, which kind of system you're developing, which organization are you working for, because other types of testing might not be applicable depending on the nature of the application. The others, as a must, are called for depending on where or what kind of project someone is really handling. Lastly, we have the stress testing. It's an interesting word, like smoke testing, but in actual world of programming, these kinds of testing do happen. So let me begin with the stress testing. Now in this, we give unfavorable conditions to the system and check how they perform in those conditions. So you subject the system to unfavorable conditions. Okay, reason: how does it perform? Okay, how does it respond? You get the idea. So that is about stress testing. Okay, so what happens, for example, test cases that require maximum memory or other resources. Okay, you can test for how does it work if it is a system tested under cases of maximum memory. Okay, test cases in a virtual operating system, unfavorable, because assume you had developed your application and you're saying it has to work on a desktop machine with these specifications, and here you are, try it in a virtual operating system and see. Okay, you've provided resources in the virtual machine, you're trying to assume it's really a target machine, so try to see how does it really operate. Then basically think unfavorable conditions: memory, then a machine that is not expected like a virtual machine, and that all. Then we have what we call beta testing. Now here the beta test is conducted at one or more customer sites. Okay, conducted at one or more customer sites. Okay, by the end users. Okay, and beta, if I have not forgotten, is it a Spanish word? Is it I'm forgetting, but beta basically means not working well. Okay, it's not yet the version that is being expected on the market. So that testing can be done. Check out a number of customers or end users, allow them to use the application. I think even you guys, when you go to download, there is always what we call the beta version. Beta version means this is not the final version of the application, but it's being monitored as users are taking a chance of it. Then we have what we call alpha testing. It's a validation form of testing. Okay, how is it done? Acceptance. It's about acceptance, in which before the product is released to customers, it is typically done by a form of question and answer session from the user. So it's validation form of testing. We have the application. Yes, based on our customers, can the application do this? No. Can it do that? Yes. So it's about a question answer session between the developers of application and the users. So before its final release, all those questions and answers have to be tested. Basically, assume the application is for the organization that gave you the project, so you can bring it around, allow them interact with it, so later, before final confirmation that it is the real application that they need, ask them questions. If you are the accountant of the system and you have a user account inside, is it doing X as expected? Of course, they will give you their comments in form of answers or question answer sessions. If you're the administrator, if you're the maybe the boss, or whatever the case may be in the application. So it's a form of validation testing. So lastly, I'll talk about what we call smoke testing. Now, when it comes to smoke testing, it's done to make sure that the software under testing is ready or stable for further testing. Mark my words. If the application is ready or stable for further testing, smoke testing. Okay, it's called smoke testing as the testing is a way to test or is a way to confirm if the application has survived the initial test. Okay, it's like a trial bit in testing. If it confirms this stage of testing, then it means it is stable for other forms of testing. Okay, so it's a form of checking if it won't catch fire. That is why it's called smoke testing. So if a project has 2 modules, for example, so before going to module 2, ensure that module 1 works properly. Getting it well? Example, let me write it here. Example, an application has 2 modules. Okay, so before going to develop the second module, confirm if the first module works as expected. You get the idea? That is what we call smoke testing. So guys, in your free time, try to look out for more about testing. There are quite a number. I've given you 8, but without forgetting, I think they're about 11, and each one of them really does its own job as expected, depending on the nature of the system, depending on the programmer, depending on the organization or the IT firm that has been assigned the project or that is developing the application. So all those have to be put into consideration. So lastly, we have what we call documentation. Now here I will not really give it so much time, but in the documentation, here we come up with 2 types of documents. Here we come up with 2 types of documents. One, we have what we call the user manual, and 3, we have what we call the technical manual. So the first assignment in this session is try to look for more about these manuals. Then 2, try to look for more about the testing, okay, in terms of the principles and the different types. Then try to make research on the following questions. 1, what's the difference between high level language and low level language? Okay, that is 1, high level and low level language. Then 2, what's the difference between a compiler and a linker? Okay, I've not talked about it anywhere, but definitely if you had researched about compilers and interpreters, trust me, it comes up somewhere. So a compiler and a linker. Then 3, we have what we call a text editor and a debugger. Okay, a text editor and a debugger. So this was our session as we're trying to conclude the session of problem solving, or how do we come up to write application. So in our next episode, we are going to have an introduction about the choice of language that we made earlier in our previous episode. We made a choice of language and we said our language is going to be C++. So in the next episode, we are going to have an introduction to C++, and that will be the way through. Now, from the previous episodes, if you have any questions, if you have any inquiries, Amore is online on WhatsApp. I've been giving this number in all the previous episodes: 751-824973, or reach out to me on programmerslife@gmail.com. I'm always available and I can always answer any question. Maybe one other different thing that I can do for you in this session, let me try to give you some references of reading. Of course, all these videos are going to be posted on my YouTube channel. Okay, so I'm sure if you're watching this video, definitely you're watching it on my YouTube channel. So that is the first reference, or you can go to Google and specify a topic, okay, based on the episodes that you've watched earlier, including this one. Then you can find other references in my next episode. Have a good time.